everybody, Mac here. Welcome back to the show. Yes, I am back. After a very long holiday hiatus, I think I was gone for maybe about 3 weeks at this point, I have returned. I took some time off for the holidays, but more than that, I took some time off because I was working on getting a new job, and not just any job, it was like one of those life-changing jobs, and I am very happy to say I got it. So my 2022 is starting off pretty well. So welcome back to the show. Now, what we have here is a Comic Book Wednesday, but not just any Comic Book Wednesday. We have a Wonder Woman Comic Book Wednesday, a Wonder Wednesday. And we have here two pieces that I got for Christmas. We got a lot of stuff I got for Christmas that we're going to be taking a look at for the next couple weeks. But we have Todd McFarlane Toys, DC Multiverse, Todd McFarlane designed Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman from Last Night on Earth with the Helmet of Fate on her. So let's take a look at these and we will jump right into it. The boxes are what we've come to expect from McFarlane Toys. Very Spartan, especially for the DC Multiverse line. I actually like this look for these boxes. They're not busy, they don't detract, they just let the item inside speak for itself. On the side, we have window to let light in from the side. We have the name of the figure printed down the other side. You can see here it says McFarlane Design, Wonder Woman, designed by Todd McFarlane. On the other side, window, Wonder Woman with the Helmet of Fate. And on back, we have promo shots that these will be the trading cards that are inside, we know that. And then we have cross-sells for other items that came out. I wouldn't even say really with this line. I think this was a Target exclusive, actually, and this just sort of came out on its own, but we have other figures that were available. We have Flash, Gorilla Grodd, Superman, Green Lantern, Nightwing, Justice League, Aquaman. Who is that? Oh, Darkseid, and Death Metal Diana, Flash, and Death Metal Batman. But what we are here to look at today are these. Wonder Woman, Last Night on Earth with the Helmet of Fate. Wonder Woman as designed by Todd McFarlane. So let's not waste any more time. Let's get these open and let's take a look at McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse Wonder Woman. Okay, so I know normally once I get them out of the package, I have them standing up, we put the tape measure to them, we go through the whole 9 yards, but we're really not going to do that with this figure because we've really already taken a look at this figure, linked to it right there, because this figure of Wonder Woman Last Night on Earth with the Helmet of Fate is exactly the same as this figure of Wonder Woman Last Night on Earth without the Helmet of Fate. The only difference being this one has the helmet, this one doesn't, this one has gold bracers, this one has silver. But other than that, it's the same paint job, it's the same sculpt, it's the same everything. Maybe the knee pads are a little bit more of a brighter gold to match the rest of the gold standing out. As a matter of fact, sure, there's gold standing out on the entire figure right here. But that's all you're getting. There's a couple of things we're going to be talking about in this video as far as McFarlane goes, but this is one of the things that's the most infuriating, to me anyway, for McFarlane Toys, is that if you get a different head sculpt here, then you have to buy a completely new figure. And I get it. I didn't read Last Night on Earth, but I get it that maybe when she put the Helmet of Fate on, that's when things got even more gold than they already are, and that's why the gold is standing out more on the armor. That's why her bracers turn armor. That might be the transformation of Fate, but to pay another $20 for a helmet, and the thing is, it's not even a new face sculpt, because if you take a look under here, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but her head, the head that is on this figure, the head that's on this figure is on this figure underneath the helmet. So the helmet is just glued onto the head. So the only thing you're spending another $22, I forget how much this one is. The only thing you're spending another $22 on is a plastic helmet that he could have added in as an accessory with this figure and then just golded this one up entirely. We see this all the time, especially like Peacemaker, for example. There's the helmeted and then there's the John Cena head that you have to buy you have to buy two different figures for that. That's not right. I'm sorry, if you're just getting a new head sculpt, and in this case, basically just an accessory, to have to buy a completely new figure for it, I'm not entirely down with that, because even as far as, let's just set her down here for a moment. Stand, Diana. Even as far as the accessories go, you still get the stand with the DC etched in the front, which is cool. But then you also get this thin plastic sword that the plastic he uses on his weapons, the plastic McFarlane Toys uses on the weapons, at least for the DC Multiverse anyway, is very thin, very, very weak. And we see that with DC Multiverse, and we sort of see that with some of the Mortal Kombat figures, because Shao Kahn's hammer really droops because of the weight of the head. And this one here, since I've done the review, the sword has stayed in the sheath, but when I take the sword out, it's kind of in worse shape than when I put it in there after the review. So that's frustrating. Go back in. She also comes with her trading card here, which has a pretty decent photo on the front, and then the bio on the back. So that's really all I wanted to get into with this one. I get the gold stands out more, but you basically bought a whole new figure just for a helmeted accessory, and I'm not okay with that. Okay, friends, here we go. Something a little bit more traditional, something a little bit more that you're used to in our formatting. We have Diana here, Wonder Woman, as designed by Todd McFarlane. Now, I don't know if this Designed by McFarlane series is going to go on, or if it was just an itch that he wanted to scratch, because so far I think there's only been 2 in this series. We had a Batman designed by Todd, and now we have a Wonder Woman designed by Todd. And I don't think we've received any more of those. And I don't know if there's any more coming down the line. But this is basically Wonder Woman in armor, designed by Todd McFarlane. So the first thing we will do, as we always do, is we will put the tape measure to her. We will see how she stands, how tall she stands. And being a McFarlane Toys figure, she doesn't want to stand up at all on her own. She comes in at just at 7.5 inches at the top of her head, almost 8 inches to the top of the wings on her crown. So stand up, Diana. All right, so that's what we have. So she does line up, stack up pretty much the same scale as the rest of the McFarlane Toys figures. So let's get a closer look at her. We'll look at her articulation. We'll look at her sculpt. We'll talk about her. And then we'll talk a little bit about McFarlane Toys. Okay, so getting her closer here, we can see this is a pretty decent face sculpt. I don't have a problem with this. I think this looks good. I like the lips. I like the eyes. I like just the whole look of her. It's a look for Diana we haven't really seen before. And, of course, we have her long mane of raven hair. But let's take a look at the articulation. She can kind of look up, but this really gets in the way of that. She can look down, but this pops out. She can look side to side. She can actually do a full 360 spin. But if you do that, you kind of got to watch these tresses right here. And she has some pretty decent tilt from side to side. Now, she has these spiked shoulder pads here, so that when her arms come up, these are actually rubber, and they're attached to the shoulder right there. So when you bring her arm up, they will move and get out of the way, but they won't come up to a full 90. They'll come to right about there. They'll do a full 360 spin. There's no real... Oh, no, there is a butterfly joint in there. I must have missed it the first time. We have elbows that come up to about 90, and they're single jointed elbows, and there's a hinge and swivel at the elbow. Now the thing you have to watch with these is they don't stop where you expect them to. They can actually bend back on themselves. So just be aware of that. And she has that McFarlane swivel hinge swivel, that wrist swivel in and out, or you can do this, you can do that, and then you can spin it, and now the wrists swivel up and down. And this is one thing about McFarlane Toys that I really like, and I really wish other toy manufacturers would take a cue from them, and start doing that. Now at the torso, we have a ab crunch that gives her a little bit of torso twist right there. Actually gives her a lot of torso twist right there. She can go way back Not so much forward, unless you bend her at the waist. No, no ab crunch forward for her, as we know, as is what happens with with McFarlane Toys. The legs would come out almost to 90. No thigh cut, no boot cut, but there is a swivel, a minor swivel at the hip right there. Okay? Then we have double jointed knees that have some pretty decent travel. We have ankle pivot, ankle rock, and toe articulation. Okay? Nothing really side to side. But you can kind of play around with it because they kind of have the same swivel hinge swivel that the wrists have, but it doesn't quite work out the same way. Okay, looking at the Sculpt and the Paint app, when we were looking at this before, when we were just looking at the articulation, you might have noticed that designed by Todd means a lot of spikes. Spike likes his Todd. Todd likes his spikes. So basically, this is Wonder Woman if she would exist in the Spawn universe, where she has the spiky shoulder pads up here. I do like the crown. Like, the wings aren't spiked, and these are also very soft rubber, so they won't break on you. I do like the crown. I like the look of the crown, how it replaces, how like you sort of have the look of the tiara in there, but with the eagle wings coming off, it's more of a crown look right there. Her bracers, her bracers are very heavy and very spiked, more like gauntlets. This one is a little bent. Once again, this is soft rubber, and I might have to heat that up to bend that back to get that to lay. But she has the spikes here on the gauntlets, some leather wraps around the fists. I always like when they just give her leather wraps instead of full-on gloves and the fingertips are exposed. You have her traditional Wonder Woman down here, her Wonder Woman symbol down here on the belt, rather than up here on the chest piece. Although you do have the chest piece here, but this is more of the eagle, I think, if you look down in there. On the sides, it's buckled up. More blue than red, and I'm not sure how I like that. Not just because it's different from the traditional Wonder Woman, just this much blue doesn't really, I don't know, it doesn't do it for me. It doesn't really stand out, it doesn't really pop. I would have liked to have seen this with reversed colors, where it was predominantly red with a little bit of blue mixed in with it. And then the boots are silver. So we go silver, gold, silver, gold, silver, gold, silver with a little bit of gold. I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't know how much I like that with the armor being silver and gold mixed in like that. And then the boots, of course, you have the spikes down the boots. Now the detailing on the boots from the knee pad, from the knee guard down, up front, I do like the sculpt. I really appreciate this fine detailed sculpt in here. The spikes are okay. You have them coming down the back. And look at the detail on the heel here. The boots, there is some really good detail on. There's some really good detail on the bracers, too, don't get me wrong, but I really like the work that's done on the boots. For accessories, of course, she comes with her stand with DC etched on the front. You can see this one's not quite etched as well as some of the other ones are, but we all get a stand with McFarlane figures. We also get a trading card of Wonder Woman, like we get a trading card with all the DC figures. And since there's no comic source for this to come from, we just have a photo of a promotional photo of the figure, and on the back it just says, "From the mind of Todd McFarlane, comes from the most beloved and iconic DC superheroes of all time, reimagined to be clad in armor of his own design. Todd McFarlane wants to encompass the wondrous power and majesty of Wonder Woman in a new look with his own spin." Like I said, Wonder Woman, if she existed in the Spawn universe. She also comes with this big Horkin Final Fantasy style sword, and you can see it's a little bent because in the packaging, like I said with the other one, even though this isn't as thin, it's still that very soft, very pliable plastic that they use for weapons for the DC Multiverse line, and it's really bent out of shape. It's not really holding form very well. I'm going to have to really heat this up or soak it in some hot water for some time to try and get this to thin out, or not thin out, but to straighten out and actually look good. Other than that, like, it's okay. I don't hate it, but I don't know. Even for something from Todd, this just, I don't know, this just isn't doing it for me. One, I think it's way too chunky. I think it's way too thick and chunky, and there's not a whole lot of detail to it. I mean, you have some fine detail work up here in the top of the blade, but it's kind of boring looking, to be completely honest. And then finally, she comes with this shield, and I'm just going to say right off the bat that I may be stealing the shield from this figure to put with my eagle armored Wonder Woman figure, because all I need is a shield. I have a spear for her, and all I need is a shield to make her look like Kingdom Come Wonder Woman. So I really like the shield. You can see how there is some battle damage to the shield, like this thing has seen some action, seen some wear. You have the Wonder Woman logo up front. It's not completely round, it's not completed on the sides here. Don't mind that. I don't see the reason for it. I would have preferred if it would have been closed off, but I don't hate it. On the inside, one attention to detail on this that I was really impressed with is you can see the weathering and the pockmarking on the inside too. It's not just a clean sheen in here, and you have the rivets. So I do appreciate the detail work that was done on the inside. And we also have two leather straps that are fairly soft plastic to put over her arm. Now, here's the thing. Oop, what was that? Here's the thing. You have these spikes and even this bent piece right here. And when you slip this on, you just slip the shield on, it's a very tight fit, especially when this second strap gets up there. And it pushes down on the spikes on her armor in there. And she doesn't come with a gripping hand either, so you just have to kind of get it to hold on there with tension. I mean, when she has it, she looks good. She doesn't look bad. It's just, I don't like how it's pushing down on the spikes, and I don't like how she can really get a grip on it, because this hand is a closed fist, and we don't have any accessory hands to go with her. Now, speaking of accessories and hands, let's take a look at this. Here is her weapon holding hand, and you can see it's fairly small, and this, the hilt of her sword, is fairly large. So you kind of have to stretch her hand out to get a grip on it. The thumb doesn't come all the way around, and she can't hold it straight out. She's always going to be sort of in this held forward mode on there because of how it fits in her hand, and it's not very secure in her hand. Like when I was playing around with it before we got back on camera, it keeps popping out of her grip, and it's just too big for her. The hilt is too big. This is almost comically oversized. That's why I called it a Final Fantasy sword, just because of the sheer size of it. So I don't know. I'm not a fan of this sword. Like I said, the shield I'm okay with. The shield is kind of cool, and I'll probably be stealing this for another figure, but this sword, I don't know. I might have to find something else to put in her hand when she's on display. Now, something else that she comes with that was on her is this golden lasso does come off. And this isn't just a remake of the golden lasso that came with the Wonder Woman 84 figure. This is a completely different new lasso. So it has a new sculpt on it, and you can hook that on there. There's no clip to close on her belt, but she can hold it on her hip. It does come off, as you saw, but there's no unfurled version of the lasso for her to play around with, unfortunately. Okay, so I know this is usually the part of the review where I give my final thoughts on the figures, and then you get to see a montage of photos of them posed in, like, action shots or whatever. But we're not going to be doing that today, because today I just want to talk about McFarlane Toys. And back in 2018, it was either 2018 or 2019, I can't remember which. I think it might have been 18. At Toy Fair, he made the announcement that he had the DC Multiverse line. As a matter of fact, he was on Pixel Dan's show on his channel. He was doing an interview with him, and he said that he had the Multiverse line, and he was really excited about it, and he was looking forward to doing things that other companies hadn't really done with DC. And I was curious to find out what that meant, because, quite frankly, for better or for worse, I don't think Mattel did that bad of a job with with the multiverse line, with the DC line, as far as like an assortment of figures that came out, different types of figures that came out between them and DC Direct. I thought there was a pretty comprehensive backlog of some of DC's even more lesser known figures. Like you had Booster Gold, you had the Phantom Stranger, you had Pandora from New 52. And I was really curious to find out what he was going to do with it. And I was kind of excited about it. I was kind of excited to see what he could do, what this new line would be like. And between me and you, quite frankly, I feel like a lot of the luster has worn off of that excitement because we've gotten these. We've gotten the figures that we've received so far. Now, this isn't just going to be me bagging on DC Multiverse. There's a few things to bag on with McFarlane Toys in general. Like, for example, I've quit collecting Mortal Kombat. I didn't get that many figures, and the ones that I did get, I was pretty underwhelmed with them. They're figures from a fighting game that can't hold poses. I mean, you've all seen me talk about this brick of a figure, Liu Kang here, that you can't really do much with. It's even hard just getting him to stand up, let alone try and pose. You can't put his arms down into any kind of neutral position. He always has like this just extended wing look, and holy cow, it really is difficult to get him to just stand up or even stand up straight. And I don't think the reissue of him shirtless is going to fix any of the problems that this figure has. So I've quit collecting the Mortal Kombat line because of that. And don't get me wrong, I still love Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat is still one of my favorite games to play when I don't have anything else to do. I love making people rage quit on that. And holy cow, he really won't stand up for me. It's even like one leg is shorter than the other. Oh, man. So there's that. Let's just lay down, Lou. And then there was also Azrael here. That Azrael is one of my favorite backup characters for DC. He has been ever since Nightfall. Didn't like his run as Batman, but I thought as a character, as Azrael on his own, I was excited for him. And I have this, and I have the Knights Templar version of Azrael, and I really do like the sculpt and the coloring, and everything looks really great. But as far as the figure goes, like, he was a tough one that you kind of have to space his legs weird, and ankles have to be pivoted at different angles so that he can get a standing pose. Like, it shouldn't be this hard to just get figures to stand up on their own, which is probably why every figure comes with their own stand, because they realize what their problem is with articulation. So, I don't know. I am becoming less and less excited with McFarlane's offerings the more and more I dive into it. And truthfully, I'm not even really a big fan of this figure, of the designed by McFarlane Wonder Woman. The only reason I got it is because, as I said before, we get so little in the way of Wonder Woman that I will just consume everything that I can get. Even look right here, like I didn't even notice this until after, but I don't know if it's showing on the camera, but the paint on this part right here, you can see the blue bleeding through. So the paint isn't even applied really well on there. And getting her to stand in a neutral position with these boots, oh, that was a chore that took way too long. And then there's the problem with weapons that come out of McFarlane, that they're bent and distorted, and they come with a really, really cheap, flimsy plastic. You saw the ones that come with these two Wonder Women, and one second. Like, here's Shao Kahn, and here's his hammer. That's just from him holding it. And I even had him holding it on the shelf in the middle to try and lessen this droop. But because of how flimsy the handle is, how weak the handle is, and I've seen people actually cut the handle here and cut the handle here and run a screw into the hammerhead and then glue this, I guess, to the bottom of the screw so that this was actually a piece of metal, ended up being a piece of metal in there to get rid of this droop. So the plastic he uses on the weapons is less than fantastic as well. The other issue that I have, and I know no line is perfect in scaling, but there isn't a whole lot of scale with the McFarlane figures. Like, especially this one, Wonder Woman 84 has always been very tall. Like, she's taller than Azrael. All of these women, all of these Wonder Women are taller than Azrael back there. And I don't have a problem with a woman being taller than a man. But canonically, Diana is 6 feet, and Azrael is, I think, 6'5". Hold on, I have his card right here. Ah, there's no height on his card. I thought there was on his stats. Oh, here we go. 6'4". Jean-Paul Valley is 6'4". Diana is 6 feet. Like, at least make them all the same height if you're not going to get into the ups and downs of it. And man, the more I look at this, I don't think Gal's that tall to begin with. But this Wonder Woman 84 figure is really tall. And look at, I mean, just look at the length of those legs on her, for goodness sakes. So, the only thing that I'm happy with what he's been doing so far is with the Witcher figures. Because the Witcher figures, this one and this one, have been pretty solid. They can even bend forward at the abs, which is something that seems foreign to McFarlane Toys. Like, none of the things on here, except for the Witcher figures, can bend forward at the ab work. Oh, let's get her out from behind the swords. Can bend forward at the abs. They all bend back fairly well. None of them can really bend forward. And that's annoying. That's bad. Like, Mortal Kombat, they can't bend forward. DC Multiverse, they can't bend forward. These, for some reason, all day. Bend forward all day. And I think it's because they just have soft plastic bodies around internal frames. I feel like in some ways McFarlane Toys is still caught in the 90s, when they were basically making statues with articulation. It's no secret that a lot of people talk about that McFarlane, Todd, doesn't like articulation. He likes the sculpt, he likes the visuals more. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. I know there are some people that's why they collect statues, because they don't want trenches in the arms. They don't want all these cuts for articulation. They want more natural looking poses where it's all seamless, so they get the statues and the statuettes. I get that, I understand that. But if that's what you like, and that's what you want, then buy that. But if you're a manufacturer and that's what you like, then manufacture that, and don't try to make action figures in that same style. And I feel like that's what he's trying to do. I feel like that maybe the rest of the company is trying to drag Todd kicking and screaming into 2022, into the new era of action figure manufacturing. It may be coming to a head with the Witcher figures, I don't know. But the DC figures, Mortal Kombat figures, a lot of the McFarlane stuff just isn't doing it for me. So I'll get DC Multiverse. I'll still pick up some Multiverse figures here and there. As a matter of fact, I just pre-ordered the Dark Knight Returns 4-pack set. And some of it looks kind of cool. I know I'm going to have problems with it. We'll take a look at it when it gets here. And then there is the Endless Winter 4-pack. Or not really 4-pack, but a 4-figure wave. That Endless Winter, in my opinion, is one of the better Justice League storylines that has popped up over the years. So I'm probably going to be getting that set as well. But we'll see what happens after that. Mortal Kombat, I'm done. Witcher, especially with the Netflix version figures coming out, I'm probably still going to be going forward with The Witcher. These are all my opinions. Sound off in the comments. Let me know. I was thinking about this a lot, probably more than I should have, over the holidays as I was looking at my McFarlane figures, as I was seeing what was coming out for next year. Let's not even talk about the Batman figures. And let me know what you think. Am I alone on this? or are other people starting to get frustrated with McFarlane Toys? But that's what we have for you today. And we do have much more coming down the line, and I promise, it's going to be a happier video. We will be back to that, because I got a lot to take a look at. So until we take a look at something else, play well, everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, thank you for watching.